Here, I'll look at how to create a captioned slideshow in Lightroom. I have my selections in a separate collection to use for the slideshow. In Library module, you'll want to scroll down to the metadata panel. Go ahead and choose Default as the option and look for the caption field. Go ahead and enter about 1 to 4 words for each of your images. They should be unique, even though there can be some overlap. I went ahead and chose to caption the images with the Develop module adjustments I've made for each image. So as I scroll through exposure, presence, tone, curves, HSL, tone curves, clarity, tone curves, presence, HSL, and so forth. I noticed a mistake in spelling there, but it's so small it's really hard to see. So I'm going to show you a good thing to double check once we get into the slideshow module. So here I navigated to the slideshow module. Go ahead and look at the template browser and choose the caption and rating template. This will ensure that the caption that was entered in the library module also appears in the slideshow. It does also include star ratings, which I'm going to ask you to turn off for your slideshow presentation. And that's assuming that you have star ratings on one of your images, as was requested during assignment 1. Okay. So after you've chosen the caption and rating template, you'll need to determine which images to use down here in the toolbar. It asks you, do you want to use all film strip photos? That's what I have selected. Just selected photos, that would only include one image in the slideshow, or flagged photos. Go ahead, especially since you have the images in a collection already, use all film strip photos. But I'll caution you, please don't go to the slideshow module when you're in your all photographs catalog, because it will attempt to make a slideshow for the potentially thousands and thousands of images you have within the catalog if you're on the all film strip photos selection. Okay, so moving over to the right panel, you have a lot of options here. One is a stroke border around the image. You can choose to keep, change, adjust, and so forth. I'm just going to keep it at the default. A cast shadow. Okay. You can show guides or not. We'll get to the identity plate in just a bit. You can leave rating stars showing or not. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Text overlays. We do want that because we want the captions there. And down here in backdrop, this color wash is kind of a gradient on the default, which I don't particularly want there. And then the background color is this light gray. If you wanted black, for example, you could simply turn that off and it would create a black background or lack of a background color. Or you can choose on the color picker, and let's say you just wanted an almost black or charcoal color, you could do something like that. I'm just going to go ahead and pick black. There is the option to choose a color background too. I highly recommend against that and stick with a neutral color or lack of color, white, black, or gray essentially. I personally feel that the gray tends to flatten the slideshow just a little bit. So I like black or white to make it stand out. If you chose a white background, you would want to ensure that your text color showed up against it, so a dark text color, and then perhaps you'd want to change the stroke border. Okay, it asks if you want an intro screen or an ending screen. Generally, the ending screen is just a blank page unless you add something to it. Your intro screen can be more of a title page, and then your identity plate will show up, I think by default, on the top left corner, but you can change the location of that as well. Just going to go ahead and put it back where it was. If you have not already created an identity plate, it's very easy to do. If you just check identity plate and go to the options, you can choose main identity plate. Sometimes the default, I believe, is just Lightroom for that. Go ahead and do something a bit more custom by clicking on Edit. I'm going to choose a different font here. I like the Courier font. Perhaps a little bit smaller. And then you can choose bold and so forth. Another option, if you have a file with transparency, such as a PNG file from Photoshop or Illustrator, a logo you've created, you can use a graphical identity plate and navigate to that file. I'm not going to do that here, so I'm just going to click cancel, but I'll use the styled text identity plate and OK, and that has adjusted it. So that identity plate over here in the right panel, I can also scale it here if I wanted to make it larger or smaller. I want it to be visible but not overwhelming, maybe not 100% opacity, maybe a little more subtle there. Okay, and that will appear on each of the slides. Okay, there is an option down here on the toolbar for add text to slide, and you might think, why did I bother adding captions in the library module when I could just add the text right here? There are a couple of reasons for that. I'm just going to type in custom text. Right, and that actually does not allow you to change that text on each image. So when I entered it once, it appears on all of the images, and then if I go to change it, it again changes it on all of the images. So the caption is actually part of the metadata. I just clicked delete on the custom text. The caption is more associated with your image file, so it would show up as metadata, for example, in tagged images and web searches. You could use that same caption in different capacities. Okay, so some of the other options you have on the right panel here in Lightroom are music. That is for the video slideshow, and you'll be asked to export a PDF slideshow. So that is not applicable here, nor is the slide length, timing, and so forth. But you're very welcome to experiment with those on your own. And when you're all set, you'll just go ahead and choose the Export PDF option. Before doing so, I'm just going to scroll through and check the spelling of all of the captions, as they're very difficult to see in the metadata panel in library. Quite small. I see a mistake here. Exposure is missing the R. So I can't just adjust that here. I have to go back to the library module, and this is the slide in question. So in captions here, I'm just going to add the R to exposure and go back to slideshow, and now that's correct. Now I'm ready to export the PDF. So I'll just click on Export PDF. It will ask you where you want it to go. It's at desktop, that's fine. So I'm just going to call this Module 3, Assignment 2. And here you have some options. Quality, you can keep at about 90 is good. Custom sizes, anything from the 1200 by 800, 1600 by 1200 should work well. Some of these smaller sizes are going to be much too small. They're going to be very pixelated when viewing them. So I'm happy with a 1600 by 1200. You don't want to go too large. You don't want an enormous file from this. And go ahead and click on Export. By the way, if you do not have Adobe Acrobat Pro on your system, Lightroom should go ahead and generate the PDF for you from the Slideshow module. You can look at the top left of the taskbar showing you the progress of the Slideshow export. Okay, so the slideshow is finished creating. Here it is in my desktop. I'll go ahead and open it up to make sure it plays as it should in Lightroom, or sorry, in Acrobat. And it looks fine. When I said plays as it should, I meant scrolls through as it should. Okay. So to clarify, this slideshow should be a clickable PDF. It doesn't necessarily have to be a slideshow that plays automatically. You should have that option if you open it in Acrobat, or it was also an option upon export, play automatically full screen. But what we really want to see here is just the slideshow format as a presentation tool rather than an actual working slideshow. Right? Have a great day.